How's it going, guys? Cameron here with Canadian Gamer, back at you with another video. As you can see, it's a beautiful day outside at the local park. I'm out in the country here, so it's not a big deal to come into the park and sit at a picnic table, whereas in the city a lot of the parks are actually closed due to the ongoing pandemic. But anyway, this is a short video. I wanted to talk about the current state of VR. I know this subject may not be for everybody, but bear with me, it is going to go somewhere. Back in the mid-90s, my father worked for a retail chain called Kmart, and I can remember one day I went in there and I had the opportunity to try out Nintendo Virtual Boy, and the game they had on display with it was the Wario game. Now, I was one of the few people, I was really impressed with the Virtual Boy when I put my head into that headset, and you saw the black and red graphics at the time. It was extremely impressive. Unfortunately, I think there was quite a few people that experienced headaches or possibly even seizures because of that unit, and shortly thereafter Nintendo pulled the plug on that experiment, and it was shortly lived. Obviously the N64 was probably being developed around the same time, so that was the end of that. Fast forward to the current state that we're in here with PlayStation VR, and again, I know there's a few other headsets out there. There's the HTC Hive, and there's one that's done by Valve as well, if I'm not mistaken. But the PlayStation VR, and I only know one person that has that. She's a female gamer, and I don't think she plays it too much, to be honest with you. I think it just sits there and it collects dust. Part of the issue with the PlayStation VR and a lot of these headsets is, again, this is just one man's opinion. The first thing that's a problem with it is the headset is just too damn bulky. Okay? It's this huge, it's fairly big. It's a headset that you got to put on, and you're just sitting there in a chair with this headset on, and you're moving your hands. You're not moving your feet. There's limited interaction. So that's the first problem with VR. For VR to evolve, or take the next step in the evolution of virtual reality, they need to just simplify it. It needs to be just a pair of glasses that you put on your head. Okay, we don't need this huge, gigantic unit on your head. And I know they're trying to make it as efficient as possible, and they're trying to make it as small as possible. But when you have this unit on your head, and it's got a wire on it, and all the rest of it, and if I'm not mistaken, some of the games use the PlayStation Move controllers. I think that's just a step in the wrong direction. I think, what's the old saying? You're trying to fit a round peg inside a square, or is it the other way around? A square inside a round circle? They're trying to cobble together a VR experience using a home console, which is primarily designed to have a controller in your hand in front of the TV. I just don't think they're going about this the right way. I think for virtual reality to succeed, who knows, maybe this will never happen. I think VR needs to be its own thing entirely. I'm talking, again, just the headset, and be able to move around with not just your hands, with your feet. And the problem with that is, again, you're getting into liability concerns. What if somebody's walking around and they don't know where they are, and let's say they fall into a lake, as an example. These things can happen. And you don't expect somebody to, if they had that sort of virtual reality experience, to be just in one small isolated room, because then they'd just be walking into the walls, right? So there's just so many things that, unfortunately, they can't pull off with today's VR. It's a very limited experience. And the second thing is the games. I don't care what Metal Jesus says. I don't care what anybody says. Okay, a lot of these games are just tech demos. The only game that looks like it could be a killer app would be Half-Life Alyx, or Alyx, the VR game that came out, the spin-off of Half-Life. Nobody's talking about it right now. I'm sorry. Again, missed opportunity. Valve decided to create a VR game, which I'm sure is probably the best VR game out there. But unfortunately, nobody's talking about it. Why? Because not too many people have VR headsets. Nobody wants to play a Half-Life game like that. I'm sorry. People want to have a controller in their hand when they're playing Half-Life. That's just the way it is. That's how I'm calling it. But like I said, I think for VR to succeed, they need to take a step back and reevaluate what they're doing. I don't think wearing a huge headset, especially you come home from a long day at work and they expect you to sit down and put this headset on, and it's just, I don't know. I think, like I said, that combined with the limited amount of quality games coming out for these VR headsets, it's pretty sparse. Like I said, these VR headsets are pretty expensive as well. That's another sticking point. I know they've come down in price, but they're still pretty expensive. Do you guys remember the old movie from the early 90s with Pierce Bronson, The Lawnmower Man? Again, that was pretty much about virtual reality, and again, go back and watch it, and if only virtual reality was actually like that, right? Again, for the experience, if you really just take a step back and look at how it is right now, you're basically sitting down, you've got a headset on, and you're moving your hands. It's very limited. Like I said, for it to be the full experience, you need to be moving your whole body. You need to be completely immersed in the world. Right now, it's extremely gimmicky. That's all it is. It's just a gimmick. Again, you're taking a concept and you're tying it to a video game console, which is not really designed for VR experience, and it's limiting the experience in my eyes. It's going to be, how immersive is it going to be when you're just sitting there, moving your hands, and you're looking into the goggle? If they could develop a VR game that was like Myst, where it's a completely open world experience, and again, if they could somehow design a mechanism so it feels like you're walking, maybe if they had like a unit on the floor that you stick your feet into, kind of like a bicycle, and you can move your feet back and forth, something. But like I said, when you're only using the upper part of your body, it's almost like you're handicapped. So like I said, I think virtual reality is way off from where it could be, and like I said, if these companies don't want to take the next step and develop a console that is just purely VR, it's never going to go anywhere. Like I said, the games that are coming out for it are extremely gimmicky, and that's a red flag right there. So like I said, Valve has the right idea with Half-Life Alyx. It's definitely a premium VR title, but like I said, if all you're doing is wearing a headset and moving your fingers around and your legs are completely dead, it's just a gimmick. So that's my thoughts on it. I'd like to know your guys' thoughts on it as well. Do you feel the same as me? Do you think VR is just a gimmick and is years away from being anything that would be a true experience? Like I said, if they could pull it off to the point where you felt like you were in this world behind me, fine. But right now, it's nowhere to be found. So anyways, guys, just a short rant. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.